So welcome everyone. We're going to begin. Welcome to Open Doors to Art. Today we are starting our first studio visit of the year in partnership with Curated Tastes. My name is Miret Rodríguez. I am an art historian and I live in Vancouver. I'm also the co-founder of Curated Tastes and chair of the Vancouver Latin American Cultural Center Programming Committee. I am tuning in from the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations, a place that is also known as Vancouver. In honor of Women's History Month and International Women's Day, we have invited artist Arianna Garcia-Fialdini to our very first studio visit of the year. She is a Mexican artist based in Montreal, working predominantly in paint and print media. Arianna works closely with issues raising awareness on social change and gender violence. She explores the conditions of women, immigrants, and refugee claimants while observing and commenting on social realities. Arianna received her Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from Concordia University in Montreal in 2005 in painting and drawing. She completed a second BFA in art education at the same establishment in 2010, from which she graduated with honors. In 2012, she received her Master's of Fine Arts in Painting at the Burren College of Art in Ireland, funded by the Michael Green Scholarship. Arianna is presently a doctoral candidate at the Concordia University of Montreal in the Department of Art Education. Her teaching and studio practice aims to serve for an alternative platform from which to reach and project marginalized voices and stories. Arianna, thank you so much for opening the doors of your studio today and tuning in from Montreal, for accepting our invitation. What time is it over there? It's 2 p.m. over here.
Hi, Miret. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be able to be here with all of you today. If you see me look over, it's just because I've set up my computer and my camera on the side, so I'm unsure as to where to look, but I'm trying to make as much eye contact as possible. Over here in Montreal, it's 5:12 p.m. right now, close to dinner time.
Well, thank you for taking the time. I'm happy we were able to find a friendly time in common. Are you almost done with winter over there?
I want to say yes, but I don't know if that's hopeful. My husband says so, and I want to believe him. So the snow and ice is slowly starting to dissipate as we speak.
We definitely see some flowers blooming on our side, so that's really exciting.
Oh, nice.
And I even had to close my blinds because the sun it's quite nice.
Oh,
okay, Arianna. Well, everyone on this call, you're always welcome to type in any question or comment in the chat box. I'll be mindful to take a look at that. There will be a Q&A towards the end of the call. We also have integrated an activity where you will look at some images of Arianna and share your thoughts. We don't have to put you on the spot, but you're welcome to participate. This is just for you to get a little break from all these conference calls and all this screen time that we're all experiencing lately. So without further ado, Arianna, let's dig into your work a little. Let's talk about your experience of being an artist, a female artist in Canada. And before I continue, is everyone able to see my screen? Perfect. So let's move forward. So Arianna, can you share with us what's been like for you to be a Latin American artist in Canada? Do you notice any difference or not?
Well, yeah, it's a really nice question. I find. I guess I feel like I have a big commitment and challenge because although I feel proud and encouraged to work hard and working as an artist itself feels very empowering to me, it's also very humbling because I know that there's many talented and amazing artists all over the world. And in the context through which we're speaking from today, particularly from all over Latin America, and that not everyone has equal or the necessary opportunities or resources available to them to kind of explore that dream and passion and role in the potential that they may wish to do so. So in that way, I almost feel a stronger sense of responsibility to my values, to somewhat represent my roots as mindfully as possible, and acknowledge accountability and put the best effort forward that I can possibly give to do so. But it feels very rewarding for the most part, and satisfying, which fulfills me on a day-to-day basis with a great amount of gratefulness for what I both chose to do for a living, as well as have had the circumstances and resources and large support system to encourage me to do so and to continue to explore.
So you mentioned a keyword there, responsibility. Does that mean that in a sense you at times feel as a sort of ambassador of your country, Mexico?
Um, I feel like for the most part, that's a good question. It's tricky because I feel like for the most part, my experience in Montreal, when I look through the amount of years that I've spent here, I can't say it feels as though we have that huge of a Mexican population compared to other places I've visited. Um, and so I guess in a way, yes, but it's also a funny thing to say because I by no means could possibly represent the Mexican experience for everyone. Um, as you and I have spoken about in the past a little bit, my Mexico might be very different from your Mexico or somebody else's Mexico, right? So um, in a very general sense, yes, in wanting to represent and do the best I can, and forth that effort. But in another way, I think it's impossible for me to try and do that because there are so many facets of our amazing country to represent that it wouldn't be fair or possible to do so.
Yes, I definitely agree with you on that sense. It's quite wonderful to have very different backgrounds and perspectives. And, you very specifically, you have chosen art and visuals as a way to communicate. So what does that mean to you to communicate what's important to you through visual art?
Yeah, I think I would tie my answer to that, to my last reflection, and that it's superbly meaningful to me. And I'm forever grateful to be able to have the privilege and the space available to give voice to my sensitivities, my thinking processes, to the empathy and the impacts that I see and live through as I make sense and consider the world again as I see and live in it. Also to the passion that I feel through working with the mediums that I explore, and the empowerment and fulfillment that I feel to be able to have a platform through which I can both explore and express all of the things that I mentioned and more. Um, I guess I really like what I do. I really enjoy it, and I find great satisfaction, joy, and pride in being able to do it.
Great. So, I mean, this is a great segue to now look at your work. I always think it's interesting to, yes, to see work without any sort of context and explanation. So I would now like to invite everyone in this call to take a look at a series of images by Arianna, and grab a pen or paper, or maybe open up your notes on your phone. And I am going to ask you, this is an individual activity. I'm going to ask you to please observe the following images and write down a list of words, thoughts, or feelings that come to mind. Anything, no judgments. And this is just for you. You are only going to share whatever you feel comfortable sharing. But what we're mostly interested here is to see what these images provoke within you. So I am going to do this in silence. I'm going to mute myself. And once it takes about 1 minute or even less, once I'm done, we will do another activity. Is everyone ready? Great. Pen and paper, I love it. Okay, here we go. Great. How was that too fast? Was that okay? Does anyone need any more time with the images? Please, if you raise your hand or type in the chat. If everyone is okay with that and you don't need to see the images anymore, what we are now going to do, we're going to break out into rooms of 3 people. This is going to be an activity for you to talk to others, which is, I don't know about you, but for me, it's really refreshing to get a different type of interaction with people instead of just, being on a call in the background. The groups are of 3 people, so, hopefully this will make you feel more comfortable. And when you meet those other 2 persons in the room, you can please share your results with one another and maybe try to figure out if there's anything in common that you all have, that maybe you also different things. And then after that, we'll share with the room at large. So you're going to receive an invitation to join. Let me just, I'm going to stop sharing so that I can see how many of us are in the call. So I am going to go ahead and make these breakout rooms. Wonderful. We need 9 breakout rooms. Here we go. So for anyone that probably just joined the call, normally all the other participants are currently in an activity. This will take about 4 more minutes. If you didn't get invited to a breakout room, apologies. Hopefully you'll be able to participate in the next activity. Again, our chat room is open, so if there is any questions that you might have, please go ahead and type them in. Hi, Samantha. Did your breakout room not work for you?
I was just texting you. I was alone in the breakout room, so I don't know if.
Oh, I'm really sorry about that. Maybe you and I can do one. How did you find the images? What sort of words did these images spoke?
So it's funny because I've obviously seen all of them, but because Arianna's my sister, but it's nice to see them again and just without think of a word, without really like thinking about it for too long. So for like the group of women, I was thinking of like mobilization and strength, how there's strength in numbers, and in sort of our countries and Latin America, you often really need those sort of numbers, especially between women. And I think that there's a lot of power in that. Some of the ones with the gun, for example, it can invoke either fear or like worry, you know, that feeling of like looking over your shoulder. Like as a woman, you're often reminded that you shouldn't be alone, or you know, don't go out at night, or don't be in like dark places. And so sort of that feeling of always having to be like cautious. And then there was another one I thought of, struggle, and another one made me think of sort of survival. A lot of women, you know, they do what they can to survive and to help their loved ones survive. So those were some of the things that came to mind.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think I'm definitely in tune with you. I am also from Mexico, and I can also relate to this, to this constant worry that is normal for many of us. And it's definitely, yes, it's definitely a topic that I think deserves to be discussed. And that's why I appreciate Arianna's work, right? Because it's, her work really reminds us of the things that we should probably be, most likely be paying attention to. So thank you for sharing that. I am now going to break out the rooms and bring them back in here. And again, if you want to share this with the larger group, you're welcome to. We'll see if anyone else feels comfortable doing so.
Perfect.
Okay. So they all have 60 seconds to leave their rooms. Hopefully they're going to come in gradually in. Do you also live in Montreal?
Yeah, I do.
That's nice.
Yeah, Eddie has been here for a bit longer in Canada, but yeah, we've been here for quite a bit now.
Well, that's lovely to have the family together in one
city. For sure. We're really fortunate. For sure. Yes. It makes a big difference.
Hola.
Hi, Cici. Hi.
Emi, ¿cómo estás, mi vida hermosa?
Muy bien, gracias, Cici.
Qué bueno, también está Sam por ahí. Está Samantha, ¿no? Por ahí también.
Sí, aquí está toda la familia. Muchas gracias por joining. Ahora todos están regresando al room. We had a breakout room activity and now everyone is joining. So we're going to resume. And
ya me está regañando Andrés.
Well, that's what our children are for, right? They keep us in line. I don't even have any, but I do that to my parents, so I know what she's talking about. Okay, well, welcome everyone. Welcome back to this larger living room. How was it? Does anyone want to share their experience with us? Who here feels comfortable to share? Maybe Lily feels comfortable.
Yeah, I always feel comfortable. You can always talk to me. I was in my breakout room only had one other person. I was paired with Claudia. I think that happens when you don't have like multiples of threes, right? And so our words, we didn't have words for all of them, but we and our words were different from each other.
Okay.
And so we had fear, beauty, sadness, curiosity, seduction, violence, rebellion, and strength. And we had a little chat about how many subjects that are like on the forefront of people's minds now, even like we are on Women's Day week, and so all those feminist subjects or women in the forefront of movements, but still in a position where there is like an awareness of danger, or feeling threatened somehow.
Thank you so much for summarizing all of that, Lily. And I think I also had a discussion with Samantha. We also spoke about this kind of constant feeling of looking over your shoulder and worry, but also strength. So what I'm loving here already is that there's this contrast of messages, right? So we get this beauty and seduction on one side, and on the other hand, fear. Is there anyone else that would like to share their results or the results of their group?
I can add a couple of things, just apart from what you mentioned, Miret. Also, I was saying earlier that some of the images invoke, for example, it came to my mind mobilization and, like you said, strength, but then also sort of the struggle and survival. And I guess so the survival part also comes a lot with the power and strength that comes with, you know, being a woman, especially in a Latin American country. And yeah, I just wanted to add that, and that it was a really interesting activity, and having the images shown individually as well, so that you can really think about it for a few seconds, because often we sort of overthink things. So it's interesting to see what feelings they invoke immediately as you see the images. And so thanks for that.
Thank you, Samantha. I'm glad that this worked for the most of you. If nobody else wants to share anything for now, I would like to call back in Arianna and, you know, give us a little bit, give us insight into what she, you know, what her intent was here. And maybe, Arianna, did you feel that some of these words are thoughts that you had also when creating this work?
Yeah, I think that was a really wonderful little exercise, because I got paired up, interestingly enough, with Rami, and some of the words, Rami, I'm so sorry to put you on the spot, that he shared with me that he saw in the work were, I believe, and please step in, Rami, if I'm wrong and correct me, violence was one of them, drug war was another one, inequality was a word we talked about a lot, and you know, just the divide still very present between male and female and the rights associated with each. So yes, dead on, just as Lily shared, and Samantha and you, and all these wonderfully insightful comments, very much so that the artworks that you so graciously showcased are part of a series, as you're setting up here, called Ni Una Más, which is roughly translated to not one more. And it's directly based, for the most part, on the phenomenon of femicide that is still very much present in Mexico, but nonetheless a universal problematic that is part of most societies and still happens, unfortunately, here in Canada, specifically, just from the context from where I live. You still hear a lot, which is something we talked about in our breakout room, about all the Indigenous women that still go missing and murdered. So it's a universal reality, I believe, that is still very much present. And for me, it's important, both from the perspective of a woman and the different realities that I'm faced with here in Montreal, not that that doesn't apply to me anymore whatsoever, but feeling that sense of safety, and, you know, fighting for the idea that every woman should have that it shouldn't be a fear that we should live with as we commemorate International Women's Day this week. That's what the work is about, for in the larger sense of the word, and influenced by as well.
Thank you, Arianna. So, I mean, we're now really, you know, digging into your work and diving deep, because in a sense, you know, you are your own individual, and there's all these concerns that you might have, and then you choose to resort to graphics, to art, to speak up. So, could you share that? Could you share more about that with us in terms of how does art help you do that, and do you have is your intent to create awareness, to create change? What are your hopes behind when you make these works?
Yeah, I think for the most part, I started really exploring this from a more concentrated perspective, or being able to allot more time and space to it when I started my master's degree in Ireland. I had the opportunity to really dive into it, as you said. And being so far away from home, even though I had already been living in Canada prior to, it feels like the more the years pass as I live outside of my native country, the more it accentuates that bond and that nostalgia associated to questioning why, in part, we left in the first place, right? And I don't want to speak on behalf of my family, who for the large part is here today, but because again, there are so many beautiful things associated with my country, and for the most part in my life, that when I think of it, it's just such a beautiful thing, and in part that adds to why I miss it so much and to that nostalgia. But I'm losing my train of thought here. But in reality, my main goal is to raise awareness, which was eye-opening for me when I started speaking about this subject from a very specifically my own Mexican experience in Ireland. And I was really surprised as to how many people had not heard about, or how very few people had heard about what was happening there with femicide. Particularly, I was concentrating on the region of Ciudad Juárez in the north of Mexico in my MFA. But yeah, and truly, a lot of the time people would come up to me afterwards and be like, I had no idea. I really thought Mexico was like beautiful, all-inclusive resorts and tequila, and like, you know, not to harp on the stereotypes per se, it's just, it was not something they associated with. And then other stories started arising and being shared of like, you know, in my country that happens too, you know, I'm also afraid, or I tell my daughters, or my wife tries not to, you know what I mean? It's always associated to that idea of being victimized by the gender that you were born with to a certain extent, which unfortunately, as I said, is far more universal than we realize at times. So yes, for me, just to answer your question more directly, it is more so about raising awareness than anything. Can I say that I'm helping create change? I would love to think so. I don't know if I can quantify that. I'd like to very romantically, in a way, believe that the more people know, the more there's a possibility for change to mobilize. But I don't necessarily pretend to change the world or think that I am doing so with my art, but it's the medium through which I can express myself, and the only way in which I know how, or the best way I know how, to talk about meaningful and important things to me in my life. So I hope that answers the question a little bit.
It does, and I thank you for sharing that. And I for one, I would like to add, just with my humble perspective, I definitely do think that this type of work makes a difference. Already, we are here, a group of people that, you know, we are interested in your work, of course, but we are already thinking about these issues with more time, right? So we're taking the time to think, and perhaps, hopefully, we can go beyond and do something. Perhaps support an organization, or just talk about issues that need to be talked about versus distraction. That's my very romantic and utopian perspective. But how about everyone here? How about our audience? I have a little poll for you. It's very, very fast. You're going to see it on your screen. What do you think? Do you think art has the power to change society? So you have some options. You have most definitely, yes, if you're romantic, slightly, maybe, not at all. Art can't really change society, or maybe you don't really have an opinion. So please go ahead and select your choice. This is an anonymous survey, so we won't know who answered what. So please answer with freedom. Okay, if you all now have the chance, I'm going to end the poll. If anyone didn't answer yet, please raise your hand. Otherwise, we are going to end it, and let's see. So I don't really see any. Was anyone able to participate? Yeah. Do you see the results? I'm not able to.
Oh no, I was able to.
Arianna, if you see them, could you please share with us what you see?
Okay, I saw 80%. It disappeared, so I don't know how to bring it back, but it said 80%, I believe, definitely agree, and about the rest. This is me showing you how bad I am at math. The rest that said that they somewhat agree. Those were the only two. There you go. Share.
That's perfect. I mean, 80%, that's very hopeful, and that's most of us, right? So I'm glad to find that we are like-minded individuals, and there's quite lots of romantics here.
It's 73 and 27 now. I don't know if everyone can see the results.
I'm gonna stick to the 80%. I like that number. I like hope for sure. Wonderful. Well, okay, so we're getting close to the end of our call, and we still haven't even seen your studio. So Arianna, do you want to show us around? Thank you so much for for going there. I don't know if you still have snow in Montreal, but you might have different challenges than everyone else to move around.
No, for sure. Let me just tell you a little bit about my workspace as I try to maneuver the logistics of it. I don't know if people can see around me. Take your time.
And also just for our audience, there is an icon normally at the right top corner where you can choose different views. So I would recommend choosing the speaker view so that you can see Arianna's studio better.
Okay, I'm gonna move as slowly as I can just to give a reel, and also because I wanted to say that my studio itself is situated in the Park Extension neighborhood of Montreal, which is part of the borough of Villeray-Saint-Michel. And I think the name derives from the fact that it is situated at the north end of Park Avenue and is literally an extension of the artery. So we usually refer to it as Park X here in Montreal. And so my studio is part of an artist collective called The Long Haul, Les Corridors d'Art, which is a multifaceted community. Okay, I'm not actually showing you anything, am I? It's a multifaceted community filled with rich historical and cultural detail. And I believe it has the highest concentration of immigrants. 1 second. Can everyone see that?
Yes, we can see very well. Thank you. Yes, we're doing a 360 here.
And keep moving here and not make anybody too dizzy.
We spot Trump there and monarch butterfly.
Yeah, so I believe it has the highest concentration of immigrants and visible minorities among Montreal's various neighborhoods in terms of newcomer population ranking, as second among all of Montreal's neighborhoods, according to what I searched this morning through Centraide website. So the space that my studio forms part of feels very inclusive and warm and friendly in general. And the studio space that I rent itself is not very huge, as you can see, somewhat. I share it with my dad, who's a musician.
Oh, wow, that's so wonderful.
But I do use and take up most of it myself for the most part. Sorry, Daddy. And one of the many nice things about forming part of this artist collective, which I've been part of for about 5 or 6 years now, is that you have access to a communal gallery space, ample wall space that's accessible to us even outside the walls of our studio, and a common room that's equipped with like a bathroom, 2 sinks, a microwave, a tea kettle. Let me just move this way so I can get you closer. Plates, couch tables, etc. And it's just a wonderful community that I'm very grateful and proud to be part of. So we hold yearly group art auctions and shows as well as solo ones to kind of continue to be able to keep rents low and affordable for practicing artists here in Montreal, both cultural and artistic as well. And you can follow us on Facebook. Sorry, my little PR here, but if you look up the Long Haul Artist Collective. So I don't know if you can see, I try to set up in as friendly of a manner as I could so that I can maybe close up on specific works, but what I see in the camera is not what I necessarily
It's great. We're looking at your shelf and your smaller works. Are these drawings?
Yeah, so a lot of these are monoprints. They're monoprints based on Lionel, and some of them are, well, this one is a painting specifically. What else could I show you? I'm really sorry if I'm making this. Yeah, so these are a few that are part of a body of work that I actually completed for a course a few years ago that I took with my supervisor and at Concordia, and it helped us explore the idea of color and its possibilities. And the other ones, I mean, I put them together because it's hard to kind of find enough space in this little studio to do so. So I hope you can see a little bit.
Yes, we can definitely see. And this, you know, the constraint that you are speaking about in terms of space, I think that's something that many artists can relate with. I love these drawings. They're very powerful.
Thank you.
Are these drawings too, or what are these?
Yeah, it's ink on paper. Frankly, it's just ink on paper of different sorts, either tinta china. I don't know. Sometimes I don't fully know the terms in one or the other language. Most of my training has been in Canada.
I also would like to invite anyone to make any questions. Oh, we do have one in the chat. Can you please talk about your techniques and materials? That's a great question because you definitely work in different supports and different mediums. Could you share a little bit of that with us? Thank you for the question, Javier.
Let me just scroll through here. Maybe show you work while I talk so you don't have to look at my face. Most of the time I work with, image transfers. I work from observation or photographs. For the works that you're seeing right now, I work from a lot of imagery from newspapers, both here and from Mexico, that you access online. Techniques, truly, I mean, I stick to conventional painting and drawing techniques, meaning, again, from observation. I don't know how much detail I want to share and put on my art nerd hat, but generally speaking, I work with, I was going to show you that, latex paint, which is over here. I work with latex paint for outdoor wall painting because it's affordable and lasts longer as well. So I take little samples out and work in sections at a time. It's water-based, but I also play back and forth with acrylic. I was pregnant for a little bit, for a few years back to back, kind of. And so I wanted to be really mindful of the materials that I was exposing my body and my babies to. And so lately I've been working much more with watercolor, embracing our pandemic realities. I tend to work larger scale for the most part. I try whenever possible to stretch my own canvases. Concordia has amazing resources and facilities that make it really accessible to do a lot of those things on your own, as well as economical. And what else can I tell you? Generally speaking, my process starts working from very small, and I project, or like I enlarge it to either a mural setting or just larger canvases. The bigger, the better in my preference, but there's not always someone that wants to lend you a wall. I love the ephemeral nature of murals in general, knowing that, like, yes, it could stay there for a while, but also the community could change, or the building owner could decide to change that, or whatever it is. I love the idea of of it not being permanent, of it being ephemeral. I don't know if I'm all over the place here answering the question.
No, you're good. I mean, I'm hoping everyone else is finding it interesting as well. You mentioned the newspaper, and we haven't still seen. I wonder if you could bring a work to the camera where we could see that the newspaper behind some of your paintings. That's
yeah.
something that you can, you get to appreciate when you're really face to face with the artwork.
Yeah.
Right, so we're looking at so we're definitely looking at this painting, and then there's on her dress, I guess. We see
dress in general, it's mixed media. In the bottom part is primed pieces of newspaper cutouts, and I just tried to highlight specific segments, you know, as a as a commentary or a reaction to what was happening at that specific point in time. I don't think I need to absolutely go into detail about it. I think it's to a certain extent self-explanatory, but I outlined parts of it that I found either resonated with it, or I found appalling, or just was being a bit, how can I say that? I was being a little cheeky about it, I guess. Coping mechanism, I suppose, to what is continuing to happen. I hope a lot less now, but at that time, when that person was in power, I'm going to leave it at that.
Thank you. So we still have a few minutes with everyone in the call. I definitely would love it if, that you have the time as well as audience to make any sort of question. Please don't be shy. This is your time to ask Arianna anything that, that might be on your mind. You're welcome to unmute yourself, or also just type a question on the chat. If nobody else does, I can probably ask you the one last question while we wait for anyone else to feel free to do so. Your work, you talked also about color, because in most part your work you work a lot with black and white. So I'm wondering why this choice, why this kind of formal choice of resorting to black and white? Did you feel like this helps you deliver your message better?
I think it's a really good question, and I tried thinking about that ahead of time. For me, the visual contrast between black and white, as well as the impact that it provides, in terms of image sharpness and statement, is what kind of originally drew me into making that compositional choice. And to explore it further, really. So as we mentioned before, the subject matter with which I tend to work with can be a little sensitive, and at times maybe even triggering for some. So I really try as much as possible to be mindful of my approach when I'm embarking on developing the imagery that I choose. And rather than forcing difficult subjects like the ones that I tend to explore down the viewer's throat, I try and find the sensitive way to maybe offer an image that could draw you in to want to ask or know more. But having said that, I also kind of feel like I have to balance that by making a quick statement, because you have to take a second look or a closer look at times, as we just did, at what the image is really about or trying to portray. And I find that the simplicity of black and white in an image helps do that in an effective way for me. Also, it's a bit of a commentary in itself, because the themes that I usually explore are not so black and white. If anything, there's kind of tons of gray tones that they're building from, but those can be easily overlooked at times and maybe even misinterpreted or approached from very black and white, all or nothing, kind of oversimplified perspectives, if you will. So aside from those two obvious palette choices, in some of the more recent work that I've been doing, as well as the images that, for example, you chose for today's meeting, I use pink a lot. I use blue, purple, and even gold at times more recently. And so depending on the series that work is part of, there's kind of an implicit and active decision in the color choice made. I'm not going to go into detail for all of them, but for instance, the pink generally codes that work to be part of a larger series that talks directly, again, about gender-based violence, specifically femicide, and it ties it to that directly. So the shapes themselves too, as well, and the positioning of the shapes within the composition usually highlight or target, both literally and symbolically, a specific trigger or vulnerable, sensitive personal point or association that drew me in to want to kind of artistically explore that subject matter in the first place. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely. And I think on that note, we have a member of the audience that is asking a question about the painting above the desk with one yellow circle. And he or she is asking, can we see it? And what was the inspiration? And Arianna, just one recommendation: when you move the little cart, we hear a lot of banging. So do you think it'd be possible to bring the work to the camera?
Yes, absolutely.
Versus the camera to the work. Thank you. Is this the one, Helicus, that you were asking about? Yes, thank you. So yes, this is the one. So Arianna, could you just tell us a little bit about the inspiration of this work?
This is actually part of a series of works that I've titled Invisible Heroes. And it's really just to talk about all the important people working behind the scenes. I'd say more so from a context of our friendly neighbors down south here in Canada, specifically referring to the US. And the amount of undocumented citizens that reside there and that do so much grunt work and, you know, strive for a better life. I don't know if I should talk to the camera, or if I should hold it. Is this okay?
Well, however you feel comfortable. We've seen it, so if you
okay, great.
Wish, yeah.
It's about, and I guess in a way for them. There's a few more, you know, cleaning people, cleaning staff, behind the scenes individuals, generally speaking, and the unbelievable work that they do. And still get accused for at times for stealing employment opportunities for others, and how, to a large extent, many things would not be possible without these individuals. So yes, Invisible Heroes. And the reference on the top was inspired by the Zapatista movement in the back. It was inspired by revolutionaries from the Mexican Revolution specifically, and just how, yeah, exploring the idea of the heroes that we each hold in our minds, that we look up to, and the reasons why sometimes they motivate us and keep us going to fight for specific causes or goals and strive for them in life as we move forward. Sometimes I can only imagine it must be hard to remember why you're doing this, where maybe in your own country you had a very different, higher paid job where you felt more dignity. And most likely, as is the case for many immigrants, not all of course, but it's to be in search for a better, safer life, right? So that was kind of the motivation or the inspiration behind it.
Thank you so much, Arianna. Yes, and thank you as well, Helicus. And we have a message saying really nice and great message too. And I definitely want to continue that comment because personally, I definitely in your work I see, you know, as an art historian, I'm sorry that's the kind of gaze that I have, but I definitely see in your work I see a continuation of previous artists such as maybe Goya or Daumier or Emery Douglas, Kathy Kollwitz, who have been artists that denounce denounce whatever's happening around them, and they can't look away. On the contrary, they look with more detail and more attention. And I really appreciate you doing that. I think your work is really important. And again, I would like to thank you for having shared that with us today. There's more things that we could have talked about. Our time hasn't allowed it. But I really hope that this was able, that everyone here feels more aware, curious about your work and about the many social injustices that are happening worldwide, and that this could be a departure for many of us. And just before we let go of everyone else, here are some beautiful pictures of Arianna's space. Thank you for sharing that, Arianna. We won't be able to, if anyone has another question, please, we probably still could take. Oh, I think we lost Arianna. She's just asked to join the room again. Are you there? I think we lost you for a bit. You're back. You're muted, but thank you for joining us back.
Oh, here I am, sorry.
I was just thanking everyone for being here. I also want to ask for all of you to follow VLACC, Curated Tastes, and of course Arianna's account. You can go to her website, garfiard.com. And our next studio visit is happening on April the 15th with artist Osvaldo Ramirez Castillo. So please mark your calendars and don't miss this other studio visit. Osvaldo is an artist from El Salvador, and in his work, he deals with many storytelling techniques, and also raises awareness in a different way about some of our syncretism that we experience as Latin Americans. So that's going to be, we hope to see you there. We also hope to see you, I think that's next week, March the 18th. I'm kind of lost in time. Yes, that would be next week for an art talk on muralism, indigenism, and social realism by art historian Jairo Salazar. So please register through our website. And thank you so much. And Arianna, if there's anything you would like to add, please do so.
No, just to thank you again, Miret, and through the VLACC platform for hosting this, for having me here, and letting me talk about my artwork.
It's been wonderful. Thank you everyone for joining, and please follow our activities and send us a message for any comment that you might have. And thank you so much for your support. Have a lovely Tuesday. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Ciao.